This video is brought to you by HockeyMonkey.com, your one-stop shop for the best prices on all the latest and greatest hockey gear. Be sure to use coupon code HR4U7 at checkout to receive 7% off any order. Hey guys, Josh from HockeyReviewsForYou.com bringing you my review of the Warrior Covert DT1 LT. This is one of two high-end Covert models from Warrior, with the other one being the ST. I also have that review coming soon, by the way. And this particular stick has a lot of unique and interesting features that are exclusive to the Warrior Covert DT1 that we're going to talk about in today's review. So with that being said, let's get right into how this thing performs. When it comes to the overall weight and balance of the DT1 LT, I have to say that I was a little bit surprised that it weighed in at 470 grams, which is by no means heavy, but it is a little bit more than you would expect from a top-end hockey stick, as they generally tend to weigh between 420 and about 440 grams. Now, while 30 grams is technically not a lot of weight, it does make a noticeable difference in terms of how this stick does feel in your hands. In terms of the overall balance, it is still a true one-piece construction, which is what you're going to get from the LT model of the Covert DT1 line. The ST model is technically not a true one-piece, but we'll talk about that in another video. But as far as the LT goes, it is a true one-piece, and in terms of the overall balance, I would say that it is ever so slightly blade heavy, but not necessarily in a bad way. I think that the overall balance of this stick is unique in that the bottom half definitely feels very, very solid. I know that these sticks are hollow, but it definitely feels like the tapered area of the shaft is extremely strong and very, very durable, and just very tough overall. So again, while this stick is not necessarily going to blow you away in terms of how much it weighs, it definitely does have a nice solid feel, which is something that a lot of the more lightweight sticks might not necessarily provide for you. Another thing that I did notice regarding the weight is that it is very, very noticeable if you're going from something like a Bauer Vapor Apex 2 or even a Bauer Nexus 1000. You're going to pick up that stick and then go to the DT1 and really feel that little bit of extra weight. Again, it really comes down to personal preference at the end of the day. I'm not going to knock the stick for weighing a little bit more, but just keep in mind that it isn't as light as other top-end sticks that I've personally used. Next, I want to talk about the shaft of the DT1 LT. The shaft itself features straight sidewalls and rounded corners, and the overall dimensions of the shaft are definitely on the thinner side in comparison to your average hockey stick. So it's extremely easy to get a really good grip whether you have big or small hands. Moving into the taper, you're going to find that it has a fairly unique shape. This is the Dagger T2 taper from Warrior that has a very narrow kind of shape as you're looking down towards the blade, whereas the face of the shaft gets a little bit wider than the rest of the shaft that you normally hold as you get closer to the blade. This is slightly noticeable in hand when you're dropping your hand down to take a face off or something like that, but nonetheless it's still very, very easy to get a good grip on the shaft, but it definitely is still something worth noting because you will notice it a little bit when taking face-offs. As far as the grip coating goes, this is the grip variation of the DT1 LT, and it features the Diamond X grip pattern from Warrior. Basically, it's just a standard grip coating with this kind of gritty diamond pattern over top. It does have a little bit of texturing to it, and what's nice is that it's actually part of the stick. It's not a paint job over top, so I really didn't find that it had issues with chipping off or anything like that. In terms of the amount of grip that it actually does provide, it's not overly grippy, and at the same time it's not overly slick, especially when you have gloves on. So for the most part, it's kind of a good medium type of grip. Reminds me a little bit of the grip tack finish from Bauer, which is something that I'm personally a big fan of. And of course, if you don't like the grip texturing, this stick is also available in a clear variation. Something that I've always admired about Warrior hockey sticks is that they tend to provide a slightly more natural type of puck feel, and the same can be said about the Warrior DT1 LT. The core of this blade is Warrior's Hardcore X foam core, so it is of course a foam core that is reinforced to provide as much strength and rigidity to the blade as possible, as well as helping to reduce any kind of compression, which is going to make for a very consistent feel from heel to toe on the blade itself, which is something that I personally am a really big fan of. We're seeing a lot of companies going in different directions with their blades, giving them a slightly different profile in terms of feel, whether it be for shooting or puck feel in general. Something that comes to mind, or a great example that comes to mind, would be the Hyper Toe blades from Easton that have a slightly different feel at the toe than they do at the heel, but you're not necessarily going to get that with the DT1. It's very consistent on both the backhand and forehand. In terms of the outer shell of the blade, you're going to find that it is 100% carbon fiber, and then you're going to have a carbonized layer over top, which is basically that extra black piece on the inside, and you can see that there's a little bit of an extra border border going all the way around. This carbonized layer is again carbon fiber. It's supposed to be an extra hard material that again is allowing the blade to be as strong as possible, adding that structural integrity, helping the blade to remain nice and stiff when shooting the puck. It's also going to make for a nice pop feel when shooting, but for the most part it doesn't really hinder the overall feel, at least in my opinion. Moving on to the bottom, the last major feature of the blade is the aramid sole, and it's not really anything that you can see, but it's an extra strong layer of carbon fiber that runs across the bottom of the blade that is supposed to strengthen the impact protection area of the blade for when you're taking slap shots and stuff like that, and it's supposed to be 4 times stronger. So it's more of a durability thing than a puck feel thing, but I thought it was still worth mentioning while we're talking about the blade itself. Now in terms of puck feel, like I mentioned, it has more of a natural feel about it. It's not overly hard, it's not overly rigid feeling, but like I said, it's still very stiff and very responsive when you're shooting the puck. You never feel like the blade is opening up on you, but when you're receiving passes and stick handling, it does have not necessarily a soft feel, but something that is a little bit less pingy than you might get from other high-end sticks out there on the market. Again, the Easton V9 Hypertoe blades really come to mind as a good example, as something that is going to be a lot more pingy and a lot less forgiving. You can see the blade itself is fairly narrow in profile, and it's a consistent taper all the way through, or consistent thickness I should say, relatively thin blade, so very, very easy to maneuver. And a lot of people, or Warrior anyways, is touting the dagger taper as being kind of a feature as far as visibility. You can see that it's extremely narrow going into the blade and gives the optical illusion of having lots of extra kind of visibility between the blade and of course the puck, which in turn should allow you to see the puck a little bit more easily. I really didn't notice it as a major feature. Visibility of the puck has really never been a concern with any type of stick, but if you're really looking for maximum visibility, this dagger taper is definitely something unique and will provide that little bit of extra kind of ease as far as seeing the puck really easy when it is on your blade because of such a narrow taper. That's pretty much it as far as puck feel goes. Again, it's more of a natural feel, but does not lack the rigidity and pop that you would normally not miss out on when shooting the puck. So again, very, very good blade. Big fan of the puck feel on the DT1 LT. I would describe shooting the puck with the DT1 LT as extremely effective. What I really like about this particular stick, and what I mean by effective, is that you really can feel it working for you with every single shot. No matter how hard or how soft a shot you're taking, you can feel the shaft loading up, you can feel it kicking back, providing that nice pop on your shot, and like I said, you can feel it working, which is something that I can't say about every single high-end stick with every single shot that I take. A lot of people buy these high-end sticks, and whether they're buying just the wrong type of stick or they're buying a flex that's a little bit too high for their strength level and their skill level, they're just not getting the benefits that you should be getting from a composite stick, which is what these are really designed for at the end of the day. And like I said, the DT1 LT really does provide that nice consistent feel of energy transfer and flex with every single shot that you take. It's definitely more geared towards wrist shots and snap shots in my opinion, and that has a lot to do with this Dagger T2 taper, which is going to provide a very low kick point. It does have that narrower profile as you look down towards the blade, but definitely a wider face in the taper, which does add that little bit of additional torsional support, not allowing the blade to open up or anything like that, which does make for a very accurate feel to your shot. You're also going to find that there's a twin spar technology in the Dagger T2 taper as well. Basically, it's 2 reinforced beams that run through the taper and directly into the blade. And Warrior really talks about the shaft and the blade working together as one because of this type of technology. And again, I really can vouch for that, in that you can feel the effectiveness of the technology working with every single shot. The shaft loads up extremely easily, and you really feel like you're getting solid energy transfer with every single shot that you take. Again, it's not necessarily the best stick, in my opinion, for slap shots and one-timers and stuff like that, but if you're one of those people with more of a quick release, you're just taking wrist shots and snap shots and kind of a quicker variety of shots, you're really going to like the amount of pop you get from the DT1 LT. And I really enjoyed this blade as well. It's nice and stiff and does have a nice kind of amount of pop when shooting the puck. It never feels like it's opening up, and overall you get a very consistent flex profile with the DT1 LT. When it comes to durability, I've had no issues thus far with the DT1 LT. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, it has a very solid feel to the lower half of the stick. mainly around the blade and dagger T2 taper. It just feels extremely solid and very, very strong. So again, durability wasn't really a concern. The graphics for the most part have remained intact. Paint is not chipping off in any way at all. And other than just normal wear and tear, there's nothing that I really have to complain about. In terms of the blade, they do of course have the carbon plating as well as the aramid sole, as I mentioned earlier, which is supposed to allow for better, kind of a stronger blade. And also that aramid sole is supposed to allow for 4 times better impact protection when you're taking hard shots and banging on the ice and stuff like that. So again, I really can't say anything bad about it. Of course, that's a type of feature that really would come into play after a very long extended use with this particular stick. But like I said, after about a month of use, I really haven't had any issues whatsoever when it comes to durability, and nothing really jumps out at me as a potential concern. Overall, I have to say that I really enjoyed using the DT1 LT from Warrior. It's one of those sticks that is very well-rounded overall and extremely effective when it comes to shooting the puck. Like I mentioned, you really can feel the benefits of this stick with every single shot that you take, which to me really makes for a fantastic shooting experience, especially if you're one of those people that is looking for every advantage they can possibly get. Like I said, you're going to feel the stick working for you with every single shot, especially if you're taking a lot of wrist shots and snap shots. In terms of the blade itself, I really like the overall feel. It's not overly rigid. It does have a slightly softer feel when stick handling, but with that being said, it's still very, very rigid. Never feels like it's opening up and feels very accurate when shooting the puck. In terms of the shaft, it does have a slightly narrower profile. It reminds me very much of the Bauer Vapor Apex 2, but in comparison to that stick, it does have a little bit of extra weight to it. Like I said, it is slightly blade heavy, but at the same time, it's very solid feeling in hand. So if you're one of those people that doesn't like a particularly lightweight stick, or overly light stick, I should say, this is definitely something to consider. Now, if you guys are interested in purchasing one of these for yourself, be sure to check out the link in the description down below. You're also going to find, along with that link, an exclusive Hockey Reviews for You coupon code to get this stick at a discounted price, so be sure to go ahead and check that out. Again, the link is down below in the description. If you have any questions regarding this stick, feel free to leave a comment down below. Also leave a comment, let me know if there's any suggestions for products you guys would like to see me review in the near future. If you enjoyed today's video, be sure to support it with a like. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos, not daily videos, but weekly videos on all the latest and greatest hockey gear. And other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video, and as always, thanks for watching.